Welcome everybody. We've been given a quartic equation 4x raised to the power of 4 negative 49x squared negative 4x positive 14 is equal to 0. And foremost, whenever we are given quartic equation, it is a possibility that it can either be solved using the technique of quadratic equation, or it cannot be solved as easily as we have thought it to be, because I have already worked out a video on quartic equation where the quartic equation drastically reduces to a cubic equation, and there onwards the cubic equation is easily manageable for that particular perspective. I've shown around 5 methods for that. You can check on that particular video. But this quartic equation is a little bit unique, and it stays quartic and it produces 4 roots. Now the question comes is, how are we going to solve this quartic equation? So you can adopt this approach whenever you encounter quartic equation of this nature. So foremost, what I wish to do is I would like to actually club these two together and these two together, and then from here I would like to take x squared off. So before I could do that, what I would like to do is I would like to divide the entire system by 4x squared. Now you might be wondering why. Because this is the most efficient way that this particular equation can be reduced, right? So that is the reason I'm dividing this by 4x squared. Now when I do that, I get 4x to the power of 4 divided by 4x squared negative 49x squared divided by 4x squared negative 4x divided by 4x squared positive 14 divided by 4x squared is equal to 0. Of course, on the right hand side, even upon division, the resultant is going to be 0. So this can be further rewritten as x raised to the power of 2 negative 49 over 4 negative 1 over x positive 2 divides here 2 times and 2 divides here 7 is equal to 0. So we have quite a system. So what I would like to do is, as I mentioned to you, I'm clubbing the first 2 terms and the last 2 terms in this fashion. So I would like to write this as x squared negative 49 is 7 squared, 4 is 2 squared, right? Now over here, what I would like to do is I would like to take negative 1 over x squared out. If I were to do that, for the first term, or I should say for this term, it's clearly is going to be 7 over 2 with a negative sign. But the question comes for this term. For this term, it's only 1 over x. So I would have to multiply, or I should say I would have to place a x here, because x multiplied with negative 1 over x squared gives me negative 1 over x followed by a negative sign, and it has to be followed by 7 over 2 is equal to 0. Of course, we need to be a little bit careful with the writing of the terms, and apart from that there isn't much going in this case. So I hope up until now you have understood this, what we have arrived at. Now I would like to rewrite x squared negative 7 squared over 2 squared using the formula a squared negative b squared, which is nothing but a negative b times a positive b. So that would give me x negative 7 over 2 times x positive 7 over 2 negative 1 over x squared times x negative 7 over 2 is equal to 0. So just to have a recap, we have been given this system 4x to the power of 4 negative 49x squared negative 4x positive 14 is equal to 0. my intention is to club the first two terms and the last two terms together. Before I could do that, I would like to divide the entire system by 4x squared. Upon dividing, I have arrived at x squared negative 49 over 4, negative 1 over x, positive 7 over 2 times x squared is equal to 0. For this particular term, this second couple, I would like to take negative 1 over x squared out, and that results in me getting x negative 7 over 2. And for the first couple, or I should say the first two terms, are written as x squared negative 7 squared over 2 squared. I am applying a squared negative b squared, and thereby writing it as x negative 7 over 2 times x positive 7 over 2. Now clearly I can see x negative 7 over 2 can be taken out. So if I were to take x negative 7 over 2 out, I can rewrite this as x positive 7 over 2 negative 1 over x squared is equal to 0. This is what I've got. Now clearly, according to the laws of algebra, if AB is equal to 0, then A is equal to 0 or B is equal to 0. Right? So in this case, x negative 7 over 2 is equal to 0. The other case is going to be x positive 7 over 2 negative 1 over x squared is equal to 0. In this case, I get x is equal to 7 over 2. So this is one root. From here, if I were to multiply by x squared throughout, this is going to be x cubed positive 7 over 2 x squared negative 1 is equal to 0. Now I would have to get rid of this 2, so I multiply by 2. This is going to give me 2x cubed positive 7x squared negative 2 is equal to 0. This is a cubic equation. Now solving cubic equation, as I mentioned to you, is not an easy task. Of course, there are two ways. In fact, there are multiple ways depending upon the terms and the manipulations that you are adopting. So just having said that, let me just move on. So the idea here is I would like to write 7x squared as 8x squared negative x squared. So 8x squared negative x squared gives me 7x squared. Next, I would like to add 4x and subtract a 4x followed by negative 2 is equal to 0. Of course, the first term is 2x cubed. Now you might be wondering, how is it possible that I'm able to simply write down these terms? It's by trial and error, right? Trial and error. And that is an integral part in our field of mathematics. So, because my main objective is to get the roots, and that's the reason I'm handling the situation in this fashion. Now next, what I wish to do is I would like to now choose the terms properly. So I will have to make the clubbing. I have to take the terms in the manner in which they can be solved. So having mentioned this, what I would do is I would just club 2x cubed with negative x squared. So this is one term. And then I would club this 8x squared along with negative 4x. So let me write that down. 8x squared negative 4x. So I've clubbed these two together. So I've got 4x negative 2 is equal to 0. So from the first two terms, I can take x squared out. If I were to do that, I will get 2x negative 1. From the second two terms, I can take 4x out. If I were to do that, I would get 2 and x. 2x times 4x gives me 8x squared negative 1. So that's fine. From the last two terms, I would take 2 out. So that gives me 2x negative 1 is equal to 0. So clearly you can see this is the reason that I have adopted this strategy. So if I were to take 2x negative 1 out, I would get x squared positive 4x positive 2 is equal to 0. And from here, 2x negative 1 is equal to 0, and x squared positive 4x positive 2 is equal to 0. This gives me 2x is equal to 1 and x is equal to 1 over 2. So this is the second root. Over here I'm using quadratic equation formula. So negative b plus or minus root of b squared 16 negative 4 times a. This is x is equal to, so this has to be divided by 2 times a is 1. Now this would give me negative 4 plus or minus root of 16 negative 8 divided by 2. This is equal to negative 4 plus or minus 16 negative 8 gives me 8 divided by 2. This is negative 4 plus or minus 4 times of 2 with a root divided by 2. This is negative 4 plus or minus 2 times root 2 divided by 2. I can take 2 out. That gives me negative 2 there plus or minus and root 2, right? So if I were to write all the solution sets, so therefore the solution set is, first I've got 1 over 2 and then 7 over 2 and then negative 2 negative root 2 and then negative 2 positive root 2. So you got 4 roots. 1 over 2, 7 over 2, negative 2 negative root 2, negative 2 positive root 2. So that is the solution to this beautiful question. Students, I hope you enjoyed this. Have a good day.